Durability. Often an afterthought among e-bike manufacturers, especially a lot of the Chinese ones. But this ETM RTR is American designed, but also assembled in China. Now, I'm gonna address my experience of owning this bike over the last year, address what has held up super well, and what potential failure points there might be. Now, normally I'd film a video like this on the bike, but it's currently 25 degrees outside and there's loads of salt on the road. So you'll have to settle for garage talk with the space heater in my fun little seat instead. And last thing before we get started, this is not a 2,000 mile review. If you know me, you know I love this bike. It's the only bike I own currently, so it's something that I absolutely love and adore, performs amazing. This is strictly based on durability. So let's go. Display. The display works great for the most part. Shows your miles per hour, shows your odometer, shows your lowest voltage, shows your battery percentage. Now this is a first gen ETM RTR. So the first gen did actually have a couple little bugs with the display. Those being that sometimes the display would freeze so that your miles per hour would just freeze and it wouldn't change. The other part being that the odometer didn't read correctly. So basically this is a 2,000 mile review, but my bike technically only shows 0.0 miles, brand new. So this was an early bug that Electro & Co addressed right off the bat. So if you bought one of these and the display didn't work, you could have sent it back. They would have reflashed it or fixed it for you. All of the newer models, I'm told, work perfectly fine. There's no issues. The display still works. Obviously, the only thing is the odometer reading doesn't really read right, but 2,000 miles is a pretty good estimate for me because I've ridden this thing every single day for a year, except today. Today's too cold. The motor. For me, the motor has worked flawlessly. I now have the mod motor, but the stock motor worked perfectly as well. I ultimately just replaced it for the mod motor, so it's now ready to accept a new controller to push more power. I have heard of some people burning up their motors, but I really don't understand it. Like, you have to be full pin ripping this thing non-stop to really destroy the motor. And there's even safety mechanisms in the motor, so if it gets too hot, it'll literally turn the bike off. Now, if you turn the bike off once it's overheated and turn it back on, it clears the code and you can go back to riding. So it's something to note. If your bike gets too hot, it's automatically gonna kill itself out. Just turn off as a safety function. But if you turn the bike off and back on, you can technically ride again, but that can fry the motor. That's how you fry a motor. I think there's also a way to riding electric bikes that's gonna be different versus riding a gas bike. You're not gonna be pinned full time. I don't know, the way I ride electric is a little bit different. It's more stop and go. And it's also probably just because I wheelie, so I'm not doing full moto or anything like that. Obviously, I can't ride trails very well. I can't ride track very well. So I'm just all about wheelies. So if anything, I'm pretty good on the motor, but you know, if you're ripping it, you should definitely get the mod motor because it can withstand higher temperatures and it just performs all around better. But I still think the stock motor is fine. I really don't get how people burn the motors out. You either have to have like a lot of weight on this thing, ripping it non-stop 100% of the time for that to happen, but I don't really understand. So for me, the motor has held up phenomenally. I will say it always pays just to kind of check some of the bolts and everything on the motor. With your regular bike maintenance, it is a direct drive, so I'd suggest, you know, just making sure everything is snug, tightened to spec, so everything is good, you don't have any issues. But motor has worked perfectly fine for me, 2,000 miles, 1 year of ownership. You see, I don't baby this thing. Battery. So the battery has been great in this thing even after 2,000 miles. I have both the stock 72 volt 25 amp hour battery and the touring 72 volt 45 amp hour battery. They get pretty equal amount of time in the bike. I've noticed no battery sag. They both hold their charge. They both still charge to 100%. No issues whatsoever. I get just as good a range on this thing as the day I got it. Really no sag or any sort of noticeable issues with the batteries. The cases on them are really good, super protective. The one thing I will say is that the batteries definitely get scratched, the outside, just from putting it in the bike and taking it out of the bike so frequently, but that's normal. That doesn't affect the performance of the battery. It's merely aesthetics. Me personally, I don't care because the battery goes in the bike and then you don't even see it, but it is totally normal for the battery outside boxes to get scratched up. That's the whole reason they're there. My only other point on the battery, and it doesn't even have to do with durability, is the fact that they can be kind of hard to get in the bike sometimes. The stock one is easy, but the touring is a pain in the butt because it's super heavy. And I also have a lot of wires feeding back in the bike to go to my 12 volt accessory kit. So it kind of makes getting the batteries in and out kind of a pain in the ass. Granted, it still only takes like 30 to 45 seconds, but that is just one thing that annoys me. The bar, let's go to the bar. I mean, the bars. The bars are phenomenal. I had the stock bars. I opted to put on the ENC high pit bike bars. They're the same exact bars, except these just have a higher rise to them. But these are literally Pro Taper bars. Like, you can't convince me that these are not Pro Taper KLX 110 bars, just with an Electro & Co logo on it. I would be willing to bet they come from the same place. So these function phenomenally. I have looped this bike. I have crashed it. I I've low-sided it, anything and everything in between, and the bars haven't bent one bit, which is awesome. If anything, it's just the front wheel will move a little bit, as with any dirt bike, and you just straighten it back out. But the bars have not bent once, and super good ergonomics once you put the high bars on. I highly recommend that mod. Speaking of bars, we have all of the controls, the bar controls and grips. They've worked phenomenally. Again, I've laid this bike down more times than I'd like to admit, and the grips have held up super well, and even the throttle has held up super well. So all of this is completely original on this bike. I haven't upgraded or replaced any of the controls. The mode switcher works perfectly fine. It's held up super well. Suspension. So my front forks are stock. My rear shock is the upgrade shock. Again, these are just another piece of the bike that have held up super well. I will say there is no visible corrosion on any of this, even though I don't keep this bike clean at all. There's literally dirt everywhere on it, but no corrosion whatsoever. The rear shock still is super stiff, which I prefer. The stock shock was a little bit soft for my liking. Still very good though, but this has held up great. The forks will probably eventually be due for a service, and that's only just because I wheelie this thing all the time, so the front forks take a beating being put down from wheelies. I don't see any leaks or anything. I might notice them stick a teeny tiny bit sometimes though, so you could also upgrade the front springs in the shocks to make them stiffer spring. This is like really good if you jump the bike a lot, race, whatever, but they've held up super well, very corrosion resistant. Same goes for the rear shock. Wheels. So obviously I don't have the stock wheels on. I have the 12-inch Supermoto wheels from Electro & Co. Use code ConnorG to save. These have been awesome. I put them on pretty much as soon as I got the bike within the first 2 weeks, and I haven't taken them off once. Ironically, I thought I was gonna switch to the dirt tires more to ride off-road, but with my type of riding, I just always ride on the street, and it's honestly more fun to ride off-road with Supermotos because you never know what's gonna happen. But these have held up super well. It's a full kit from Electro & Co. None of the spokes have gotten loose whatsoever. Now, Electro & Co. actually even includes a spoke wrench in their toolkit that's sent out with the bike, but this thing feels completely fine. I should maintenance these more. It's another thing I should try to keep up on more, but I've been so lucky. No flats so far. As far as the finish goes, these are obviously black. I've noticed no changes to the finish. Still looks great. No sort of corrosion. None of the paint is chipped, even though I've, tossed this thing around a bit. If you want really agile performance on the bike, like a little mini Supermoto, I mean, it's exactly what it is. These are awesome. I think they're well worth the money. They just completely change the way the bike feels. And my God, if you wheelie, you need these. The bike was really hard to wheelie with the stock dirt wheels. These guys, but dude, with the Supermotos, it's so much better. Pegs and peg mounts. Okay, I have a love-hate relationship with these things. Look at this. Oh my God, it's bleeding again. Look at that. I want you guys to see this. You see that? Ruined my nice white socks. Yeah, these things are quality. They're super good. It's good that it has a mounting brace in between here so that the peg mounts themselves don't bend. Super good. So if you're a sander, you're a trail rider, it's fine. And anything that I do on the bike, anything most likely you would do on the bike, it's gonna be fine. And the pegs are super good. They bend up like this, so if you do fall, they just bend up and they're fine. My love-hate is though that these things, it's awesome. They're so sharp, they keep your feet locked into it. But the issue is, if you come off the bike, you are gonna mess your shit up. My shin right here is properly gooed up. I've ruined my sock too, I guess now. These things are aggressive if you catch a shin on them. Quality, very good. Sharpness, usually good, but not good when you are shinning the out of your leg on the peg. Stem/fork mount. I don't really know what it's called. This shit right here. This has held up phenomenally. A huge problem that I had on my old Talaria Triple X, and a problem I hear people have on Surons a lot, is this getting too loose and then trying to tighten it and then having issues with the play in the steering and everything. I'm so glad that this has not been a problem for me at all. To not have to worry about that is super cool, because then like once this thing gets loose, it is easy to tighten. You just tighten this up here, but I hate having to deal with that because, if you do run it loose for too long, you could oval out the tube here, and that could be a whole loads of issue for the frame and everything. This goes for any bike, but not everything can be wins, can it? The subframe. All right, this is kind of a cop-out because if you loop any bike super hard, you're going to bend the subframe. However, my buddy looped my ETM RTR Lite pretty hard, and he did bend the subframe. So it did bend pretty easily. We were able just to take it off the bike and bend it back. So it ended up being okay, all things considered, and it looked honestly exactly the same. But the subframe is a slightly weaker point, but I think that the subframe bending is better because that's a super easy part to replace, and then it doesn't affect the rigidity or the structure of the actual frame, which is much more important frame and would be way more of a pain in the ass to replace if you bent it or something. So it's almost like the subframe sacrifices itself for the rest of the frame of the bike. But as far as quality on the seat goes, it's been great. This is a stock seat just with a Thrill Seeker seat cover on top of it. It's worked super well. I could do a better job at installing seat covers, but you know. But yeah, there's been no rips or tears on this one or the one below it. No sort of foam coming out or anything. There's nothing uglier than a ripped seat on a bike, in my opinion. It just makes it look so ratchet. If you have a ripped seat, bro, fix that shit ASAP. The charger! The charger has been fine. It's a charger. It works fine. I've dropped it plenty of times. It doesn't make any funny noises. It works when I plug it in. It's pretty durable, all things considered. The 12-volt accessory headlight kit. Okay, so the kit itself, I have the first version, which was kind of a pain in the ass to install. I had to connect all the leads to the controller. The new version was a lot easier. It was just plug and play. With that said, the kit itself has worked perfectly fine. All of the accessory plugs work. Everything on the bike works. It's a little switch. Now, there are so many extra accessory plugs that I have a bunch of stuff plugged into it. So I have a horn. I have a whole rear light kit, some signals. So it works phenomenally. I obviously have a headlight as well. Now, my only qualm with the headlight kit was that originally it was a little bar that was mounted here, and the way that the bar mounted up, it was like these tiny little nuts that it screwed into. And my only word of advice there would be is put Loctite on it if you're going to use that headlight. The headlight is fine, but just the mount itself, you got to like put on Loctite and tighten the shit out of it, because mine fell off when I was riding. My other buddies fell off when he was riding. So just Loctite it so it doesn't come out. But I don't even have that headlight anymore. Obviously, I have the Grit Shift headlight cowl with an Amazon headlight that I just snipped, attached the Electron Co connector to from the old headlight, and wired right in, and now it works perfectly. Another super easy thing, plastics. I love how easy the plastics are to change on this thing. I've changed it 3 times now. We've had white, red, and now we have black. Plastics are super easy. Another point would just make sure these bolts are tight enough, because you can lose them if they become loose. So again, just something to keep up with. I just tighten them every now and again so they stay secure on the bike, but I love how easy they are to put on, and they've held up well. Just make sure they're tight enough. Yeah, this one right here. I'm missing this bolt because it fell out, but that also could have been from when I was disassembling it and I lost a bolt, so. Okay, so ConnorG said so much good stuff about the RTR quality. He's just freaking glazing it. He's glazing the bike. Maybe I am. But let's talk about my pain point. So there are a few pain points on the bike as far as quality goes that I have noticed. The number one easiest thing to address is the chain. The stock chain that this bike comes with, or at least historically has come with, isn't great. It gets dried out super quick. It stretches super easily. Doesn't last very long. Electron Co. almost always advises to replace that chain with either the RLV chain or the thick chain, which is what I did within a week of owning the bike. So if you get this thing, you just have to expect to change the stock chain. You just have to do it. They might be shipping the new RTRs with upgraded chains at some point soon. I don't really know when or if they are doing that. However, the chain, it definitely has to be replaced. But once you replace the chain, it works phenomenally. And you're looking at like 40 bucks, I think, for the thick chain. I had the RLV, then I got the thick chain, and it works phenomenally. You just have to keep up on it. A lot of the issues that I see people have with chains on this bike are because they have no maintenance. They don't do any maintenance on their bike. And I know I'm the king of hating bike work, but all you have to do is keep this tension correctly and keep it lubed. Because if you run the chain too tight or too loose, it can mess up the front sprocket. It can wear it down to nothing. If it's too tight, it can actually ruin the shaft or the motor. So you want to have a good balance. I tend to keep it, you know, even usually a little looser than that, but just stay on top of it. If it sounds off, if it feels weird, do an adjustment. My other pain point, brakes. Now, I can't speak to the brakes much anymore because Electron Co. has changed their brakes a bunch of times, and from what I've heard, they are way better now. They feel super duper good. This was the first gen of brakes I got. Now, I will say, I typically replace brakes on every single bike that I get. Any bike that I've ever owned, I'm completely partial to formula brakes. So if you give me a bike, I'm more than likely going to put formula brakes on it. It's just what I prefer. I like to have consistent brakes across all of my bikes, so that's what I do. The stock brakes on this bike, I didn't really love, to be honest with you. Now, when I got my RTR Lite, they did improve the brakes and they felt way better. So I actually kept the stock brakes on my RTR Lite for comparison. I obviously like the formulas better still, but it's because they're a $600 brake. Of course they're going to be better. I am really excited to try the Rizzler, which is coming soon to the channel, as that has a completely fully upgraded brake, and I've heard it's awesome for wheelies. So I can't wait to try those. I think they're going to kick ass. Brakes on the RTR I didn't like as much. Formulas are killer. But again, remember with all this, I am a prima donna when it comes to brakes. I like the brakes that I like, and that's what I do. Last point of them all, corrosion. I honestly actually haven't really seen any. The only reason I brought this up is because I noticed the other day just a teeny tiny little bit of rust on the top of right by the key ignition here. But the reason that even happened is when I dropped the bike, I think I chipped a little bit of the paint. So there was a teeny tiny bit of corrosion there. This is where it's important with these bikes. If you can store them inside, store them inside. If you ride them in the wet, and this goes for any bike, if you store a bike outside in the wet, it's gonna get rusty. That's just what happens. Always wipe the bike down after you go ride in the snow or the rain or something. It's just a good rule of thumb to keep things nice and clean, and you can avoid corrosion. But I have half-assed done that, and as you can see, there's still no corrosion on it. There's just very dried dirt and oil. So what is my rating on a scale of 1 to 10 for the quality? I gotta give it a solid 8.5. It would be a 9.5 if it came with the RLD or the thick chain. But the quality has been great, and I've used Electro & Co products for the last 3+ years now. I've had all their Razor kits, I've had their RTR Lite, the EC4P, everything. So I've used them for a while. They've always been nothing but reliable to me. They've been an electric Honda in my eyes. All in all, yeah, I think it's a super quality bike. It's held the test of time super well. It has totally taken a beating. So I'm very impressed with the quality of this thing after, let's say, 2,000 miles. Don't think there's any concerns. I think a lot of people get worried, especially if you're new to the electric scene. Let's say you're like I was and you're coming from gas bikes to electric. You don't know how long they'll last, if they'll, be quality and last as long as some of the Japanese manufacturers that have been making gas bikes for years. But the short answer is yes. Just, do the bare minimum to take care of it, and it should last super long. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Also, if you have any personal experience, you own this bike or the RTR Lite, definitely let me know how the quality's been for you. I'm curious to hear how it's been for everyone else, if they've been as lucky and as happy as I have been. I hope so. Otherwise, guys, we are on the road to 100K subs. So if you could subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. But we're hoping for 100K by the new year. Peace.